Hello and welcome to this Learn English Professionals recording brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/learnenglish.
Work skills. Achievement.
Thank you all for coming today. As you are all aware, we are here to celebrate 35 years of continuous service by a friend and colleague, James Dawson. He started as an administration officer in 1972 in our accounts department and worked his way up the career ladder over the years, finally becoming vice president in 1989 of the company and managing over 300 employees. As most of you who have been working here long enough will know, it has been a long struggle to become one of the European market leaders in our field. And you may remember in 1982, when we had a huge setback with the plans for a merger with our top rival company falling through. Because of that, we had to make some workers redundant. However, James was lucky enough to keep his job. Yes, those really were the worst few years. However, we managed to get through these difficult times by working hard. And James was a key player in the struggle to get us back on the path to becoming one of the largest computer manufacturing companies in Europe.
Good man.
One of James's biggest strengths has been his immaculate timekeeping and organisational skills. In fact, I have never known him to be without his diary. His negotiation skills and determination led to a tactful action plan to become one of the leading companies in Europe. I will never forget that day in 1987 when we had the final negotiations for the takeover of our rival company. James and his superb presenting and negotiating skills was one of the key factors to our success. The turning point in our company came with the successful takeover. And despite all the obstacles we have faced, the hard work and dedication of all our workers has made our company the success it is today. And I have to say that James, as one of our managers, has always acknowledged the work and contribution made by others. James, you rewarded your best employees with some of the best perks any company has given. Today, we want to acknowledge the hard work and significant contributions which you have made. So, thank you, James, for your loyalty to the company and your hard work. Thank you.
This recording was brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/learnenglish. Hello and welcome to this Learn English Professionals recording brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/learnenglish.
The Airbus. Everything about this aeroplane is enormous. The numbers are truly mind-boggling. Its overall length is 73 metres. That's about as long as the Great Sphinx in Egypt. The giant two-deck fuselage will typically have 550 seats, but has the potential to carry up to 800 passengers. The tail, at 21 metres from the ground, is as high as a 7-storey building. The 845 square metre wing area is big enough to park 70 cars. The A380 can fly a staggering 15,000 kilometres without refuelling, and in order to do that, it needs to carry 310,000 litres of fuel, making the plane's takeoff weight 560 tonnes. Incredibly, though, The A380 will actually be more fuel efficient than other similar-sized jumbo jets. Airbus claim that the plane will burn about 3 litres of fuel per passenger per 100 kilometres, making it as economical to run as a family car. The building of the A380 is a remarkable example of transnational cooperation. The final assembly line is in Toulouse in France, but this is only the end of an impressively complicated process. The construction of each aircraft is the result of collaboration between France, Germany, Britain and Spain. The wings, for example, are built in England and Wales. The main sections of the fuselage are constructed in Hamburg, Germany. Parts for the nose and the tail are in fact made in Spain and only assembled in Germany. Everything is then shipped to France to be put together. The A380 jigsaw gets even more complicated, however. Although a European venture, few people realise how much of the plane is actually made or designed outside the EU. The wings, for example, were created by designers in Wichita in the United States. Some wing panels, the wheels and most of the cockpit electronics are also made in America. In fact, in terms of actual cost, almost half the aircraft is made in the USA.
This recording was brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/Learn English.
Hello and welcome to this Learn English Professionals recording brought to you by the British Council.
Alcohol abuse.
Thanks for coming along to the studio today, Damien. We're going to talk about alcohol, and more to the point, alcohol abuse, what we've come to know as binge drinking.
Yes, thanks for inviting me, Anne.
We keep hearing about cases of binge drinking in the newspapers, on television, in magazines, and on radio chat shows like this one. But what exactly is binge drinking? What does the term mean? Is there a difference between binge drinking and just plain old getting drunk?
Well, the British Medical Association states that there is no consensus on the definition of binge drinking. In the past, we used the term binge drinking to refer to an extended period of time, a couple of days, for example, when a person would continue to drink alcohol to such an extent that he or she would abandon their usual activities, such as work, or, in the case of younger drinkers, classes. In medical terms, we usually agree that binge drinking refers to the thresholds that we have for holding our drink.
But isn't binge drinking all about drinking lots of alcohol in a short space of time? And don't we usually think of young people when we hear the term used? People who shouldn't really be drinking alcohol in the first place.
Well, you are right about the first point. In common usage, probably because of all the recent media coverage, binge drinking has come to mean a heavy bout of drinking in just one evening, or a similar time span. Another factor is the intention.
The intention?
Yes. The fact that binge drinkers actually set out to get drunk. That's their goal, what they're trying to do. Binge drinkers aren't usually solitary drinkers. They drink in groups, sometimes very large groups, especially in the case of teenagers. And binge drinkers are getting younger and younger, if you believe what you read in the press.
So, let's get this clear. Large groups of kids get together with the sole intention of getting drunk.
In a nutshell, yes.
And is binge drinking a particularly British problem? Surely young people drink in other countries too.
Yes, you're right. Lots of countries have problems with youngsters drinking. But it does seem as though the UK is taking a particular interest in the problem. Let's say that here, in Britain, we see binge drinking as a huge social problem. In other countries, it's perceived as less of a problem.
And should we be worried? Is it a problem?
Well, that depends. I certainly think so, yes. In 2003, the cost of binge drinking was estimated as £20 billion. The figure will have risen considerably since then, I'm sure. In 2005, the government released figures from the Health Service that suggested that 1 million accident and emergency admissions each year are a direct result of alcohol consumption. And the emergency services report that Friday and Saturday nights they can hardly cope with the demand for attention.
So why are the British so notorious when it comes to binge drinking? Are we worse than other European countries?
The culture of drinking in the UK is very different from other countries like France, Spain, or Italy. In most mainland European countries, children grow up seeing alcohol consumed slowly. A drop of wine with a meal. The odd beer on a sunny afternoon. In the UK, we go out to the pubs and, up until recently, the pubs all closed at 11 on the dot. So, what happens? Well, you drink as fast as you can, so that by the time 11 comes around, you aren't left feeling like another drink.
Do you think we are used to seeing people drunk in Britain, or do we still get shocked?
It depends, really. But being drunk isn't socially acceptable in most European countries, whereas in the UK, well, in some social circles, quite the reverse is true.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for, but myself...
This recording was brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/learnenglish. Hello and welcome to this Learn English Professionals recording, brought to you by the British Council.
Allergies.
Dr. Peterson, you've just published an article about allergies and the fact that they're on the rise.
Yes, that's right.
So, first of all, what kind of allergies are we talking about? Hay fever, asthma?
All allergies, really. An allergy is a physical reaction to a substance. That reaction can be sneezing, an itching, sore eyes, feeling sick, a rash of some kind, like eczema, or breathing difficulties, like asthma.
And are allergies on the rise?
Oh yes, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. When I was at school, there was only one boy in the class who had an inhaler. Now, 30 years later, more than half the kids in my daughter's class have them.
So why the great increase? Is it our fault?
Sometimes, yes, either directly or indirectly. Our lifestyles have changed a lot, starting from birth. It's a well-known fact that bottle-fed babies are more likely to develop allergies than breastfed babies. Yet fewer mothers breastfeed because they simply don't have the time, or because of practicalities, like wanting to share the feeding with a partner. Then, when our children are toddlers, we smother everything in disinfectant and destroy all traces of germs.
But surely that's a good thing.
No, it's not. Germs are good. Too much cleanliness is bad. Think back to when we were children. We used to make mud pies, splash about in dirty puddles, put all sorts of things into our mouths.
So are you saying we aren't allowing our children's immune systems to develop?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Our obsessions with cleanliness have gone too far. We need to expose our children to germs so that their defence mechanisms have a chance to develop and get stronger. If they aren't exposed, there's a danger that they'll develop allergies and food intolerances later on.
What about genes? Aren't some allergies genetic?
Yes and no. The jury is still out on that one. Allergy problems do run in the family, but we don't understand why. Scientists have identified cases in families where there's been some kind of genetic mutation which affects the immune system in some way. This might result in members of a family being more prone to allergies, but not necessarily the same allergies. So, Dad might be allergic to milk products, while one child gets hay fever, and another develops an allergy to some sort of skin cream.
And this doesn't explain why there have been such an increase in allergies over the past 10 years or so.
No, it doesn't.
So what has changed?
Lifestyles, in a nutshell. Mobile phone use. All technology, really. Stress levels are considerably higher than they used to be. We're exposed to more chemicals and toxic substances. diesel fumes, pesticides. One type of allergy that has risen considerably is food intolerance. In some places, an allergy to soya is very common. This is probably because soya is present in so many food products these days, and our bodies haven't had time to adjust to this change. We don't eat in the same way as we used to. Seasonal food is a thing of the past. Now everything is available all year round.
So, to sum up, why are allergies on the rise?
Well, if we're summing up, I'll keep it brief. Too much bottle feeding, an obsession with cleanliness, too few germs and too many convenience foods, too little fresh fruit and veg, and an abuse of out-of-season food all year round. Too many vaccinations and altogether far too much stress.
Dr. Peterson, thank you very much for coming to the studio today. If viewers would like to read Dr. Peterson's report, they can write in to his personal...
This recording was brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/learnenglish. Hello and welcome to this Learn English Professionals recording brought to you by the British Council.
Amateur.
Theo, you have set up a number of successful internet-based businesses over the last 5 years. You began working from your university dorm?
Yeah, I was just messing about, really, at first.
It was for fun?
Sure, yeah, exactly. I didn't know 5 years ago that I'd be here today. The thought never crossed my mind.
Would you still describe yourself as an amateur?
Not in the negative sense, obviously, but in the sense that I love what I do, then yeah.
But you do make money.
I can't complain.
Why do you think it's the net that has created so many successful amateurs?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure I agree with you that it has created all the successful amateurs. I mean, there are lots of other examples of people who love what they do and make money out of it. I'm thinking of someone like Michael Eavis, for example, the guy who runs the Glastonbury Festival.
Yeah.
I don't know how much money he makes from what he does, but that's not the important thing. Most of the year he's a farmer, but each year he runs this enormous music festival on the site of his farm. Actually, he doesn't even do it every year. Sometimes he just thinks, no, can't be bothered this year. You know, I think that's genius. Love that attitude. He's only one example, but there are lots of others. People who run record labels or have restaurants or make cheese.
Do you think it's important to love what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. There has to be passion for the product.
So it's the product that's important?
Again, yeah. Get the product right and everything else is simple. The marketing will look after itself. This is why the net has produced so many successful amateurs. The marketing is done by word of mouth, so to speak. People just tell each other about a site that's cool, especially through networking sites like MySpace and Facebook.
Marketing isn't important?
Well, of course it is. I'm sure there are marketing amateurs out there too, people who love what they do. But I firmly believe that you can't market a poor product. That's essential.
Your father was a successful businessman too, and you studied at Cambridge.
Mm-hmm.
Does having such a background help?
I'm from a wealthy family, yeah. I've never denied it. That helps, obviously. It's given me time. Time, above all, is the most important thing. Time to experiment and make mistakes, and not have to worry too much. But that's not a key thing in the rise of the amateur.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I am. Love, not money. That's my motto.
Thanks.
This recording was brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/learnenglish.
When did you begin learning English?
I studied medicine in the Netherlands for 8.5 years, and I started learning English in middle school with German and French. In my work, I travel all over the world. Well, now I'm in China only for a few weeks, but I have traveled with the Red Cross to most countries in the world.
What is the Dutch approach to teaching English in medical school?
When I was at university, all of our teaching was in Dutch, but all the textbooks were in English. At the time, there was a movement going on in Holland to make all the teaching in English. I followed this movement very strongly because in my profession, it's important to communicate in English. Most of the research done in the world is in English too, so I need to be able to understand it, to evolve.
What was your initial reaction to dealing with medical journals in English?
Oh, it was difficult to read all the time in English, and I certainly had a lot to do. I still do today. I think it was difficult also because I didn't know the terms in Dutch either. I was learning the profession. Although because of the volume of reading I had to do, I soon improved my reading skills. I had to find information quickly, but be sure not to miss anything important. This helps me now when I have to do research on the internet and separate relevant from irrelevant documents.
And what do you do when confronted with a document that you find difficult to understand?
Oh, I've been a doctor for 25 years and a surgeon for 10 years, so I very rarely have problems with medical documents.
Yeah.
However, when I have to read political documents about the country I'm in, which is often the case as I travel to many war zones, I try to understand the gist. So, to do this, I look quickly over the articles and take a few notes as I read.
Do you sometimes wish you could read English better for your work, or is your level sufficient to get by?
I'm never really happy with my level, but it's enough for my work. I think I have to accept it. I have application forms to read and fill out in English, and these are a little more complicated as they don't use medical terms.
How do you actively improve your English?
Oh.
If you don't, is there a reason? Is your current level sufficient for your professional needs?
At the moment, I'm working a lot with Chinese and French people, so I'm reading a lot in French. But soon I'm going to Scotland, and there I will read more in English. I find the more I read in a foreign language, the easier it becomes, because you start recognizing more words. Basically, I can manage in English, but I never stop reading, so I'm always learning.
Art and Business is an organisation that develops creative partnerships between business and the arts. Peter Jones is going to talk about the company's ideas and tell us about some of their success stories. Peter, maybe you could begin by telling our listeners why Art and Business was created.
Well, in the 21st century, productivity is no longer a matter of machines. The success of a company depends on its people and on the creativity of its people. It makes sense that the way to increase productivity is to stimulate creativity.
And what better way to stimulate creativity than through reading books?
Exactly. Every reader knows that a good book can stimulate the imagination and the intellect, get you thinking along lines you might not have thought of before, open up new worlds.
So, have you had any help in setting up the project?
Yes. The London Libraries Agency and an organisation called the Reading Partnership work with us on this project. We're trying to use the power of the written word to motivate staff in the workplace. In a recent survey, 700 business leaders were asked which book had inspired them and had a positive influence on their career. They were able to choose any kind of book, any kind at all. Only about 40% chose a business book. Most people chose a work of fiction, a novel, a play, or even poetry.
How can reading help somebody to become a more creative worker?
Successful managers need to be well-rounded people. They need active imaginations. When they interpret fictional scenarios, they are using their creativity. Readers combine imaginative skills with critical and analytical skills.
Are we talking about the right and left sides of the brain?
Yes. Our logical left side of the brain interprets the language of a book. The creative right side looks at the forms of expression. The left side analyses the plot, while the right side is more interested in the relationships between characters, the emotional aspects.
How does this transfer to the world of business?
Creative ideas make businesses more competitive. Shared reading experiences improve communication and morale at work.
Can you give listeners some examples of how this scheme has been brought successfully into the workplace?
Employees at W.H. Smith have stuck poems and quotations above their desks for inspiration.
Well, W.H. Smith deals in books. What about other examples?
The telecommunications company Orange set up a project called Talk Books at Work. They discovered that encouraging employees to read helped them to develop their linguistic and interpersonal skills. Marks & Spencer has set up reading groups at work. The groups cut across the usual hierarchies, and working relationships have improved greatly. Hello and welcome to this Learn English Professionals recording brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/learnenglish.
We're here at the Inter-Celtique Festival in Brittany, France, and I'm talking to two as yet little-known pipers, Iria Salgado from Galicia.
Hello.
And from Ireland, Ronan Doherty.
Hi.
So, how did you get started?
There's been music in my family for as long as I can remember. I learnt the tin whistle when I was 6, and then, after a year, my father bought me my first set of pipes. But it was an uncle who gave me lessons.
I was 5 when I started. I learned by ear from my father, imitating him like it's always been done. When I was 10, he started putting me in for competitions.
Who have been your musical influences?
Well, Miladoiro, who started it all, and Carlos Núñez, who really put Galician music on the map. But my greatest inspiration has got to be players like Susana Saivarne and Cristina Pato for showing that women can be out there just as much as the men.
Ronan?
All the obvious names, really. Paddy Keenan from the Bothy Band, Liam O'Flynn, Davy Spillane, who I met recently, though I didn't get to play with him.
What sort of places do you play?
Well, in Dublin, you're spoilt for choice these days. And I have family out in Westport, County Mayo. I'm always there in the holidays, so I often go along and sit in on sessions at Malloy's.
Iria, I know you've started writing your own stuff. How would you categorise your music?
It's always based on the traditional repertoire, but I try to incorporate other Celtic influences as well. And the people I play with are no longer just from my corner of Europe. We have Irish, Cuban and Brazilian guys that come into the group. And so that gets reflected in the music I write.
Ronan, what has been your best gig so far?
Performing at the International Bagpipe Festival in Strachanice last year. The crack was amazing. And the chance to get together with guys from other traditions. Czechs, Breton pipers, Bulgarians. Some incredible sounds, really.
Iria, what advice would you give to other women wanting to take up the pipes?
Now is definitely the time. There's a whole new generation coming through. Even though women pipers are still a minority, there's much more acceptance than there was. Nearly half the bagpipe students in Galicia now are girls.
Where can we hear you playing next? Have you got many gigs lined up?
I'm doing a series of dates with the band in the west of Ireland and then going over to Holland and Germany next March.
I've got a few concerts in Galicia next month, and then I'll be in Zamora in Spain for a week.
Great. Thanks very much. And to play us out, you're going to do a traditional muñeira, followed by a reel.
This recording was brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/Learn English.
So, why exactly does your job have a reputation for being stressful?
Stress is generally driven by the feeling of being out of control of a situation and the feeling of a situation controlling you. Trading financial markets combines both these scenarios. Your financial position can change in a matter of seconds, and what changes that position is generally a situation beyond your control as a trader. It is possible to lose in seconds what may have taken you a year to make. It's the feeling of uncertainty, being out of control, that causes the stress.
How do you relax in the evening?
I very rarely do anything work-related, so it's easy to escape the markets. I generally go to the gym or go for a run, especially if I've had a bad day. I always cook a meal rather than have a takeaway to do something my brain would regard as creative. I find it quite therapeutic. More often than not, I will watch some TV before going to bed, as I find it helps me to wind down. If I go to bed straight after work, it's harder to sleep.
What do you do to beat stress at the weekend?
I like to be busy and active. I like the feeling of having achieved something over the weekend and it being productive. I definitely don't like wasting days. Most weekends are a mixture of household jobs like fixing something, shopping or gardening, and socialising with friends. I also go to watch Arsenal at least once a week.
Do you think what you do to relax is an effective way to beat stress?
I don't think there is a specific rule about how to beat stress. I generally find that what I do is effective for me.
Would you consider changing your job because of the high stress factor?
I have considered leaving my job due to stress-related factors. I do, however, think that an element of stress is a good thing, and if used the right way, can actually be a positive thing. It can lead to a change in direction, success, and stimulate you to do something new.
What do you enjoy about the stressful aspects of your job?
Well, having said all that, I do actually enjoy an element of uncertainty. It keeps you on your toes. I enjoy a mental challenge. Trading triggers a very wide range of emotions second by second. How you deal with and manage those emotions dictates short, medium and long-term trading performance and success.
Do you become less stressed the longer you do the job, or does it become more stressful as you go on?
I would say it remains constant. The source and the nature of the stress changes, and how you deal with it changes due to experience, but it's always there.
Hello and welcome to this Learn English Professionals recording, brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/Learn English.
The Beck exam.
Hey, didn't you have your exam yesterday?
Yes, I did.
So, what was it like? It was a Beck exam, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was the Beck Vantage.
What does that mean?
Well, it's the middle one. There are 3 Beck exams, the preliminary, the Vantage and the higher.
So what level is that compared to FCE, for example?
Well, it's like the FCE. It's an upper intermediate level.
Ah. So, what did you have to do? Was there a speaking test? Were you nervous?
Hang on! One question at a time.
Oh, sorry.
There are 4 exams: reading, writing, listening and speaking.
And how are they marked? I mean, do you have to pass all of the papers in order to pass the exam, or do they work out an average score?
Each paper is worth 25% of the total mark. So if you don't do too well in one paper, you can make up the marks on another paper.
How long did the exam last?
The reading paper was the longest. That was an hour. Then the writing lasted 45 minutes and the listening was 40 minutes.
What about the speaking?
That was 14 minutes, but it felt like 5. The time flew.
Tell me about the speaking exam. Were you nervous?
At first, yes. But my partner was much more nervous, so I ended up calming him down.
What do you mean, your partner?
Oh, you do it in twos. There are 2 candidates and 2 examiners too. Well, one examiner speaks to you, the other one just sits and makes notes.
What did you have to talk about?
Well, there are 3 sections. First of all, they asked us a few questions about ourselves, our personal life, and then about work-related things.
Oh, no.
No, that was fine. They didn't ask anything difficult. The next part is harder because you have to do a sort of mini presentation.
About what?
Well, they give you a few things to choose from and a minute to prepare.
A minute?
Yeah.
And how long is the presentation?
That's about a minute too. It was okay, actually. I spoke about what is important when you're selecting applicants for a job. That was quite easy for me. In the last section, you have to discuss something with your partner.
What?
Well, we were fairly lucky there too, I think. We had to imagine we were attending a trade fair in a foreign country. So we had to discuss travel plans and accommodation, stuff like that.
All very business-orientated then.
Oh, yeah. That's the whole point. The Beck exams are 100% geared towards people working in businesses. Everything you do is relevant. It makes it more useful.
And something good to put in your file. We'll include it in your job appraisal. We've got our meeting on Friday, so remind me then.
This recording was brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/learn-english. Hello and welcome to this Learn English Professionals recording, brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/learn-english.
Biotechnology.
So why are you so against genetically modified food then? I think you've been taken in by all the bad press.
No, that's not true. I've read up on the subject and I think there are just too many risks.
The GM foods that you get are probably safer than non-GM foods.
Don't be daft. Where have you got that from?
Well, there are tighter controls for GM food. There are controls in each country and then at a European level as well. If they pass through all of those controls before they reach the shops, they must be okay.
I just don't like the idea of having my food altered. What's wrong with the food we've always had?
We have to move with the times. The possibilities for GM food are endless.
What, redder tomatoes or bigger strawberries?
Yes, for one thing. But what about vegetables with a higher vitamin content? Or bananas with vaccines built into them?
What?
It's true. They've developed a way to produce bananas with a hepatitis B vaccine.
Not sure what I think of that. We haven't done enough research and playing around with crops is playing havoc with the wildlife. There are whole species of birds that are in danger of becoming extinct. Larks, for example, they're rapidly decreasing in numbers and it's because of the chemicals they're using on GM foods.
They haven't proved that.
Not yet, no, but it's only a matter of time. And another thing that worries me is the power that a few food companies will have if we start to rely on GM food. They'll dominate the poor countries even more than they do today.
They'll feed them.
At a price, yes, maybe. I'm worried about the food chain too.
What do you mean?
Well, playing around with nature causes no end of damage to some plants and animals. When a species dies out or mutates, it has a knock-on effect on the whole ecosystem.
I think you're being cynical. You're not giving GM food a chance.
Not cynical, just cautious.
OK, consider this. Global warming is threatening to destroy the habitat of polar bears.
What's this got to do with genetically modified food?
Everything. We could use GM food to change the polar bear's habitat now. That way we can prevent them from becoming extinct.
OK, I quite like that idea.
Good. You're starting to come round to my way of thinking.
No, I'm just trying to understand. I don't like being a guinea pig, and we're all being guinea pigs for the experiments they're doing on GM foods. I guess I don't like the way things seem to just be happening without much of a debate.
What do you mean? We're talking about it all the time.
Talking maybe, but nobody's listening.
This recording was brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/learnenglish. Hello and welcome to this Learn English Professionals recording brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/learnenglish.
IELTS Listening, Section 1.
Hello, Enigma Fusion Restaurant.
Oh, hello. Do you do group bookings?
Yes, we do. How can I help you?
Well, I'm not exactly sure of numbers right now, but I'd like to book a table for between 15 and 20 of us.
When is it for?
A week on Friday.
The 16th of November.
Yes, that's right.
OK. Well, usually we offer a set menu for groups up to 25 people. If you want, you can order à la carte, but it usually works out more expensive. And obviously, if everybody orders different food, then it can take us a lot longer to prepare. And particularly on a Friday, as we're usually pretty busy.
So, would you recommend the set menu?
Obviously, it's up to you. But it's a good option, and you get to try different types of food.
That's good. We have a couple of vegetarians in the group, some meat eaters, one person who needs gluten-free, and another who is allergic to peanuts. That wouldn't be a problem, would it?
That's not a problem. We cater for all dietary requirements. We offer several different menus, and you can choose which one you prefer. Our basic menu costs £25 per person. We do it for a minimum of 4 people, as with all our menus. That's menu A. Then they each go up in price depending on which one you order. Menu B is £30 per person, menu G is £35 per person, and menu J is £40 per person.
You now have 40 seconds to check your answers and read the questions for the next section.
And how do the menus differ?
Well, all our set menus include a variety of food, some Asian style, some Mediterranean, some Latin American, and some British food.
And can you mix all types of food in each menu?
Yes, that's right. Basically, you get a selection of starters for the whole table. For example, in menu A, you get a goat's cheese salad, onion bhajis, and guacamole. With menu J, you get spare ribs, king prawns, hummus and pita bread, and a selection of salads. You get more options with the more expensive menus. Oh, also, with the cheaper menus, you get house wine. It works out at 1 bottle between 2 people. With the other menus, you have a choice of wine. With menu J, you can also have cava.
Right. What about the main courses?
You have a choice of 3 options. All menus also include a dessert and coffee.
Right, I see. Could I pop by and pick up some menus to have a look at?
Of course. Or I could email them to you, if you want, to save you the trouble.
Oh, that'd be great.
So, what's your name?
My name is Hannah Bailey. That's HANNAH BAILEY.
OK, Hannah. And your email?
That's hb0470@freemail.com. Oh, and my phone number is 01793 211 873.
All right. So would you like to make a temporary reservation?
Oh, can I do that?
Yeah. I can pencil you in for... how many people did you say?
Well, I'm not sure. Between 15 and 20.
OK, that's fine. You can confirm numbers and which menus you want a couple of days before.
OK, that's great.
And I'll send you the email with the menus right now.
OK, thanks a lot.
No problem. If there's anything else you need, you can get in touch and ask for me. My name's Eric.
Great. Thanks, Eric. Bye.
Bye.
This recording was brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/Learn English.
Hello, and welcome to this recording brought to you by the British Council. Economy and Social Science.
Good afternoon and welcome to Modern Times. On today's show, we'll be talking about the boomerang generation. That's the new term that's being used to describe the phenomenon of young people, such as university graduates, who move back home to live with their parents. According to recent research, there are now approximately 6.8 million over 18-year-olds living with their parents in the UK. To talk about the reasons for this trend, I have with me in the studio today Helen Campbell, lecturer in economics at Thames University. Hello, Helen.
Good afternoon, David.
So, Helen, what is causing this trend of the so-called boomerang generation?
That's a good question. You see, there are a number of social and economic factors at play here. Firstly, as we all know, student loans have largely replaced the old university grant system in the UK. And as a result, student debt has risen steadily each year. According to the most recent figures, the level of debt rose again last year by 18.7%.
18.7%? But what does that mean in real terms?
Well, let's take the average graduate today. She's now likely to start her working life owing about £12,000 to the bank.
I see. That's certainly a lot of money for a young person.
Yes, and that's why so many young people are now moving back in with their families when they finish university or choosing to stay in the parental home while they study. The other important factor that is behind this trend is the high cost of housing nowadays. It's an extremely hard time for first-time buyers. You know, the average person now has to save for 5 years to get a deposit on a home.
How much of a deposit will they need?
According to a recent bank survey, about £24,000, and it seems the average first-time buyer is likely to be 33 years old these days.
Does this mean that young people are going to be more financially dependent on their parents for longer?
Well, it certainly looks that way. It makes sense for people to save money on rent and live with their parents for a few years at least. The survey has found that less than half the 6.8 million who are now living with their parents are paying rent, and many of them receive weekly allowances from their parents.
Thank you, Helen. Well, it seems that in the past the trend has always been for each generation to be better off than the previous one. But it looks like this trend may not continue into the next generation. Our lines are now open to callers who want to discuss the boomerang generation with us. Call 0845...
We hope you've enjoyed this recording. To find out more about the British Council and the services we offer, contact your local British Council office or go to www.britishcouncil.org. Bye for now. Hello, and welcome to this recording brought to you by the British Council.
Spotlight on Brazil.
This week's edition of Sustainable Cities goes to Brazil. Here's our correspondent, Sergio Nascimento, to tell us about a place that found a different way to meet some of the challenges of modern life way back in the 1970s.
Hello. I've come to somewhere that has collected numerous awards for its innovative approach to urban living, Curitiba.
Many governments are only now putting people back at the heart of city centre planning. Curitiba convinced people to stop relying on their cars several decades ago. How did they do it, Sergio?
Well, it started with an inspired and far-sighted mayor who, with a few colleagues, created what must be one of the fastest pedestrianisation schemes in history. Over the course of a weekend, they blocked off some of the city centre streets and started planting flowers with the help of local children. This overcame the opposition of the shopkeepers, who thought their businesses would suffer. They soon saw the centre could bring in far more customers than they'd had before. Popular support for a more people-friendly city grew from there.
The city itself has grown considerably since those days, I believe.
It supports a population of more than 2.5 million people today, and it shares the problems of many developing urban areas in South America. Immigration from the countryside, the pressure for housing, and so on. Yet, it has found some very original solutions. For example, instead of putting people into anonymous housing projects, it helped them to build their own homes.
Really?
By recognizing that many people already had the skills needed for construction work, it gave them support in the form of materials and advice from architects, and then let them get on with the job. That way, people have a real investment in where they live and really want to look after the place once it's built.
Is it true that the city has one of the most extensive and efficient transport systems anywhere in the world?
Yeah, that's right. There's a whole network of different types of buses that run into and around the city in their own dedicated bus lanes. It's coordinated by the City Council, but privately financed. They managed to get transport companies to provide such a comprehensive service by paying them for the number of kilometres they cover, not the number of passengers they carry. There are buses every minute in the rush hour, so the system can carry something like 2 million people. That's more than in New York.
And they connect everywhere to everywhere else.
Neighbourhoods, to workplaces, to hospitals, to tourist attractions. Nearly 70% of all journeys are by bus. The whole system pays for itself, and it's been developed largely on the existing streets, without knocking down buildings, so the character of the neighbourhoods is maintained.
Have they forgotten about cyclists?
No. There's a network of about 150 kilometres of cycle paths around the city. And parallel to the transport systems, they've developed a network of faróis de saber, or lighthouses of knowledge.
What are they?
They're free educational centres placed around the city, which have libraries, internet access, and other cultural resources. People can get help with job training, social welfare, and access to educational programs. Another thing they're keen on are the tree planting initiatives and the development of green spaces. They even use sheep to keep the grass down. It is much cheaper and it helps regenerate the soil.
And the secret to all this is planning.
It's not only planning, it's involving local people in decision-making from the start. Public participation has ensured that the system has continued, even though the man who started it all is no longer mayor.
Fascinating. Now, tell us about the recycling programme, Sergio.
We hope you've enjoyed this recording. To find out more about the British Council and the services we offer, contact your local British Council office or go to www.britishcouncil.org. Bye for now. Hello, and welcome to this recording brought to you by the British Council.
The BRIC countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China. What is their economic future?
Dawn, Dave, thanks for coming to this meeting to talk about something that I think is very important.
Well, it's good to be here.
No, I agree. These are important issues.
Can you both fill me in on developments in the BRIC countries? Dawn, you first?
Well, here we're talking about Brazil, Russia, India and China. John O'Neill of Goldman Sachs in London recently wrote an influential report on the future of these four countries.
What were the key messages of the report?
Well, it's common knowledge that the economies of all four countries are developing at incredible speed at the moment.
Yes, Russia has become a major player on the world's energy market.
Yeah.
India's IT companies are now recruiting amongst the best of the West's IT graduates. Chinese industry is quickly moving upwards in the value chain, away from low-value goods to higher-end products such as cars, car parts, electronic and computer components, just as Japan did in the 50s. We're now waiting for Chinese brands to go global, as Fuji, Sony and the like did from Japan.
Brazil is now a major supplier of industrial raw materials to China. China is investing heavily to improve Brazil's transport infrastructure, to facilitate the rapid export of these goods. China is buying increasing amounts of food from Brazil.
Sure. What sorts of things could go wrong?
Well, energy supplies are a problem for China. Chinese energy imports are the main driver behind recent spikes in oil prices. Well, there's an increasing possibility of drought in the north of the country, which could threaten food production. The political situation has been quiet for some time now, in the cities at least, but a downturn in the economy could threaten this. These are just a few of the things that could go wrong.
OK, I see. The situation may change, and these predictions may not be 100% correct.
No, that's correct.
Thanks. One question. Where's Africa in all of this?
Good question, Bob. These predictions are based on what's happening in the world today. African countries have a couple of major problems. Today, in many African countries, rates of HIV infection are very high. Many young Africans who should be in work, helping these economies to develop, are ill and aren't able to contribute. The second problem, more money needs to be spent on improving the education systems of African countries.
Are there any signs of things improving?
Well, some countries such as Uganda have been successful at reducing rates of HIV infection. And did you know oil reserves have been found in Chad recently?
Oh, no, I hadn't heard about that.
Well, oil has been found there. New oil reserves have been found in West Africa too. If these discoveries continue, some African countries may well join Brazil, Russia, India and China.
We hope you've enjoyed this recording. To find out more about the British Council and the services we offer, contact your local British Council office or go to www.britishcouncil.org. Bye for now.
Hello and welcome to this Learn English Professionals recording brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/learnenglish.
The Bullats exam.
First certificate, advanced, proficiency, Trinity and IELTS. There is no shortage of English language qualifications on the market at the moment, if you need a certificate to impress an employer or enrich your CV. But now there's yet another one, Bullats. Mark Cohen, who is training manager with a large international banking group, has just introduced the Bullats exam as part of the corporate training programme in his organisation. So, Mark, 2 questions to kick off with. First, why another exam? And secondly, why Bullats?
Well, first of all, let me say that I'm lucky in that I work for a company who invest a lot in training, and we see language training as an essential part of that. We have offices in over 24 countries worldwide, so obviously our staff use a lot of different languages, not to mention our external clients. We do a lot of language training, and the exams you mention are all fine in their place, but they're not really what we're looking for.
How do you mean?
All they do is show that you have achieved a certain level.
And what are you looking for?
Well, this is where Bullats comes in. What we need to find out is not the language level of the people who work for us, but their ability to speak that language. And it is exactly this that the Bullats exam tests. It not only evaluates their skills, but also lets us look at their suitability for further language training, and helps us to decide exactly what kind of training is necessary.
And you then design language training based directly on their needs?
Exactly. We work with a group of language trainers who design materials and sessions specifically to meet our corporate needs, and also the needs of the people who take the courses, helping to maximise our resources.
So far, so good. But why the necessity for the exam? Why not just do the courses straight away?
Well, we've done language courses before, and they've never achieved quite what we want. We even had an extensive programme of sending trainees to the UK to do language courses. They all had a great time, but to be honest, the results didn't really meet our corporate objectives.
And Bullats helps you to do this?
Yes, I have to say. It's proved pretty successful so far. We've given trainees the Bullats exam at both the beginning and at the end of the language courses they've followed. It allows us to accurately measure their progress and the efficiency of the training they underwent.
How do you manage to fit an exam into busy working schedules?
Bullats has proved very easy to administer. We can do it at any time, unlike the other exams which you mentioned, when they can only take them twice a year, which would mean a lot of delays. Not useful in a fast-moving business like ours.
Is it only for English language training?
No, we don't just use the English language version. As I said before, we work in lots of different countries, so our staff have to be able to speak more than just English. The Bullats test can also be done for French, German and Spanish, all highly useful languages in our corporate environment.
Mark, thanks for your time.
This recording was brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/learn English.